John chapter 4 verse 4 says he had to travel through Samaria. Now in the CSB translation, that sentence continues into verse 5. The he here we're talking about is Jesus. Jesus had to travel through Samaria. Verse 5 continues, so he came to a town of Samaria called Sychar, near the property that Jacob had given his son Joseph. A lot of interesting details in verse 5, but let's jump back up to verse 4. He had to travel through Samaria. There's a lot of ways we can look at this. Geographically, if you're going from Judea to Galilee, the smartest, shortest route would be through Samaria, and many travelers would take that route. However, devout Jews would not. Why? Because there was a possibility they could see themselves being tainted or stained, because the Samaritans were a mixed breed of people. They were people who were left behind in many cases in the exile and in previous generations, and they had mixed with other people that were brought into that community. So they were sort of half-breeds as the Jewish people saw them, and that made them different and unclean, and they had their own worship on their own mountain. We're going to see all of this play out in context when the Samaritan woman comes into the story, but these are the Samaritans, and we see in a lot of the academic work and some commentaries that the devout Jewish people did not look too highly upon the Samaritans. They did not like them. There was racism going on, and it was very bad. And yet here we read Jesus had to travel through Samaria. Well, he could have taken the longer route that the devout Jews would take to go around. Yes, it's longer, but that was a common way to go. So it could have been that he had to because he didn't want to go the longer route, but I tend to agree with the commentators that say he had to because he had a divine appointment under the sovereignty of God to have a discussion with the Samaritan woman, very much like he had a discussion with Nicodemus. We are about to see something that will be incredibly insightful for us, and because of that, Jesus just had to go have this conversation.